Ring the bell, ring the bell. ICE listed New York Stock Exchange. ICE is the Intercontinental Exchange, New York Stock Exchange. There it is, 4 o'clock. Folks, that means markets are closed. Wall Street closed down. Also means bowling starts. We're open for business right here. Look at the numbers, down 119 Dow. Very, very quiet day. Very anticipatory, let's call it that, because we were hearing potentially there will be a meeting with the Chinese counterparts. Lutnick allegedly and Besant may be meeting with the Chinese counterparts. Hopefully they are, about a trade deal. That would be super, super helpful. NASDAQ up a touch. Again, let's take a look. Gold still holding about $3,300 an ounce. Oil up again. Don't love that. Obviously, for the economy, we'd like to see it a little lower. Trump talked about oil being under 60. It's hovering right there. Bitcoin, $103,000 for a Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I'll say it again. 103,000. All-time high in Bitcoin is about 107,800 or so. So it's approaching the all-time high. It just is so resilient, like gold is right there. All right, folks, quiet day on the street. Monday, I can promise you, whatever happens, whether they meet or they don't meet, they get a deal or they don't get a deal, Monday, those numbers will be substantially north or south of what you're looking at right there. All righty, today we head to Mexico, to Tijuana, Mexico, to talk with Real America Voice correspondent Oscar Ramirez about President Trump's push to have the Mexican government go after the cartels. Oscar, violence getting better or getting worse? And it's noteworthy that President Trump noted that he would offer support, military support, to Sheinbaum, Mexican President Sheinbaum, and she turned him down. Trump therefore said she is afraid of the cartels. Tell us the state of the cartel's strength at the border now.
Well, the Trump pressure has had an enormous effect on the Mexican government, not only by pressuring with the tariffs and naming the cartels as terrorists, but in the first 6 months of the government of Sheinbaum, knowing that Donald Trump was going to come into office, get to know this statistic, more than 758 fentanyl with methamphetamine laboratories have been dismantled, and also more than 13,000 individuals that they were aggressors have been arrested. This tells you that under the Biden administration, this will never be existing. But that, knowing that they have shut down the borders, and knowing that human trafficking and illegal aliens are not crossing massively to open border gaps, the cartel has pivoted and has trickled into their activity as distributing drugs in inner war cities. As you see right here on the images, this was a human corpse that was found right here in Tijuana just yesterday. And also a human head was found in a lighting post with the cartel banner. The president of Mexico has designated Tijuana as one of the most dangerous cities with homicides in the whole country. So the cartel, because they're desperate and because they have been hit in the pockets by the Trump administration, it is now trickling into inner violence inside of the country. And
so they're fighting. Their cartel members are killing each other. Cartel members leaving the bodies to be found. They're fighting because Because there's fewer dollars because Trump is basically closing the border. You can't get so many people smuggled through.
Yes, absolutely. And the market has come down. As you see, under the Biden administration, I walked, covering Real America's Voice News, more than 12 caravans. There's no caravans right now. The flow through the Darien Gap, which we have been in there 4 times, it is 99% decreased, which means it has been hitting in the pockets also to the Cartel del Clan del Golfo, who they have been massively operating, trafficking Chinese people through Turkey, all the way to Ecuador, all the way to the United States of America. It means that the Trump policies are working to secure borders with illegal aliens and illegal crossings, but also it is pressuring the Mexican government and pressuring other governments to handle the security upon their own people. This means that the Mexican government needs to do better. They need to expose the corrupt politicians, that is the real cartel. The corrupt politicians, the ones that they maneuver, the ones that they have the spider web, and their decisions for this to continue to this operation of the cartel in the country of Mexico.
Oscar, do you get the sense that Trump is right? And by the way, we talked to MTG this week. We talked to Anna Paulina Luna this week. We'll get to a soundbite in a second. But they also agree with Trump saying that President Sheinbaum is afraid, in fact, of the cartels.
She's actually afraid, and she doesn't make the decisions. We, as Mexicans, we know that there is a conglomerate of people that they make the decisions. The cartel kingpins, also people that they're the elitists and the globalists that they make the decisions in Mexico, and they're pushing her ultimately to change the constitution. Listen to this. Because she doesn't want to designate the cartels as terrorists, she's willing to change the constitution for only the state to designate them as terrorists and no foreign government. This is how afraid she is, and this is how she is trying to just basically blocked every other government from naming these organizations as terrorists in the country of Mexico.
That's wild. You know, a lot of Americans travel to Mexico. Travel is one of the biggest industries outside of, as you point out, drugs and trafficking, but tourism. Listen to Ana Paulina Luna, U.S. Congresswoman from the state of Florida, recommending don't send your kids to Mexico. In fact, for spring break, a lot of people do. In fact, don't even go there yourself. Listen.
You'll see actually in a lot of these tourist destinations, you know, young people, specifically if you have kids, don't pay for your college kids to go down to Mexico to party for spring break. Okay, that's probably the worst thing that you can do. A little bit outside of some of these towns, you're actually even seeing murders in some of these resort destinations. But Mexico, for the most part, is exactly what you would expect in a second world country. They are definitely still tied and embedded with the cartel.
So she went, and she's, by the way, of Mexican heritage, Ana Paulina Luna is, and she said, you don't want to go there. It's terrifying. It's scary. Even some of the other areas. Wei, do you agree with Ana Paulina Luna? Don't send your kids, and maybe don't even vacation there.
100%. We have a problem that is called missing people. There's collective groups right now, the family members, that they're searching for their family members in Mexico because the government has been completely, let me say the word, incompetent to search for the people that they have been abducted, people that they have been, basically kidnapped by the cartel. There has been extermination camps in which they have been found in the central parts of the city in multiple mass graves around the whole borderline. Mexico is just basically a country of full mass grave. This is how I can describe it. The cartel has been bluntly and deliberately, executing and ultimately also extracting and abducting, people, citizens, selling extraction of organs and all this market that is the black market. Yes, cities like Matamoros, cities like Acapulco, cities like Tijuana. It is not safe to travel under the circumstances.
Oscar,
if you're in the wrong spot,
allow me,
yes,
because
sir.
it's important what you just said there. I mean, 20 years ago, Acapulco was a destination, American destination for families to go enjoy the Pacific Ocean in Acapulco, Mexico, and now you can't do it anymore. And then it was Cancun. There are videos of expensive resorts where cartels will come right up to the resort and shoot people. Video of that. So is Acapulco off limits now? Is Cancun off limits now? God forbid the LA, that whole LA rich people that go to Cabo San Lucas, is that becoming off limits too?
Well, the thing about it is that you're in the wrong neighborhood, you're doing wrong stuff, wrong things are going to happen to you. But the other thing is that you never know when these random shootings are going to happen. This has been happening in Cabo San Lucas. There has been continuous massive shootings because the cartel, it is fighting upon themselves. This is the actual war that I'm telling you about because of Trump just shutting down human trafficking, and he has completely shut down a market. These cartels are desperate and they're fighting upon each other, and they do not care if it is a tourist spot, if it is a place that is completely with tourists of international arrival. They do not care. Mexico has right now 5 cities on the top 10 for violence and delinquents and homicides. And those 5 cities, they're complete tourist cities. So it is, for the American people, if they're trying to travel over here, be sure where you travel and be sure to just, watch your surroundings and stay out of trouble. That's what I recommend.
So, Oscar, back and there's always been violence in Mexico. There's always been drug cartels in Mexico as long as Americans have been buying drugs, and the flow has been south to north. We get that. But for many, many years, decades even, the Mexican government realized that they could lock down certain cities because the tourism would continue to finance the country's needs, obviously. Now it feels like the police in Mexico across the board have thrown the towel in, and every city becomes basically a place that a sane American shouldn't go visit.
It's a narco government, and we have declared like that. And the whole Mexican people are now saying that it's a narco government that is controlled. Just recently in the part of Michoacan and Guerrero, almost 20 military men were ambushed by the cartel, and the president did not say a word on the next day on her morning conferences. This is how bad it is. And everybody needs to declare like that. But what Trump has done has pushed also the right wing and the conservative party in Mexico to rise and to be blunt and to just expose the left wing political party that is actually governing right here. So there's, things like this sadly need to happen for Mexican people to open their eyes, and how these dirty politicians, those are the ones that need to be held accountable. Those are the ones that they need to be extradited into the United States of America. Those are the ones that need to be judged under the government of Trump right now.
There's a story circulating. 3 Customs and Border Protection agents were arrested for conspiracy of trafficking illegals in their vehicles through the ports of entry. Do you have any information on that?
Yes, Farley Salmonte, Ricardo Rodriguez, and Kyrie Estefania three customs and border protection agents. We're right here behind you see the Customs and Border Protection, Port of Entry in San Isidro. They used to work right here, these three agents, and they were, corruptibly pulled in by the cartel, letting in illegal aliens to cross through the particular ports of entry on their particular hours. And they are charged with conspiracy of trafficking illegal aliens through the United States of America. There's two things about this. The seriousness and the concern of how the cartel, the audacity to approach a Customs and Border Patrol agent and to make an offer, under the Biden administration. This is the collateral damage that Joe Biden left, the multiple millions of dollars of this profitable business of illegal trafficking. And the other problem is this is the interior corruption that the Trump administration needs to deal with. How many of these agents are close to the cartel? This is the other fight that nobody else is talking about.
Indeed. Oscar, really good reporting. Appreciate your time and your help, and we're going to stay with you it's still the biggest story. It's still the biggest story around, folks. Oscar Ramirez, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe, my man. Stay safe. Tijuana's a dangerous, dangerous city in good times, and these aren't the best of times. Thank you.
Thanks.
Before we head to break, just want to remind you about my podcast, YouTube page, which are both updated daily with a bunch of content. Sure, you can hear this show anytime, anywhere. You missed that interview with Oscar Ramirez, you can go watch it again later, but you got to subscribe. Subscribe, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of those. It's free. Always will be. Back in 2.5. Well, I'm not sure what that is. That looks like trees, a little bank, maybe a river. What? Mad Dog, come on. Where is it?
I didn't say it right. It's Reduso, New Mexico.
In New Mexico. Okay, Mad Dog, got it. Great. That looks fake. Is it fake or is it live?
No, it's a live shot.
That's a live. Those clouds look fake. That's great. It looks like a painting almost. Okay. Mad Dog, is Ted Nugent ready for us? Is the Motor City Mad Dog ready? Well, by all means, let's not make the Motor City Madman one of the greatest rockers of all time and also one of the greatest patriots of all time. Let's not make him wait. Let's bring in Mr. Ted Nugent. Oh, by the way, hosts the show on Rab as well.
Yeah, here I am, Eric. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you now. So a couple of days ago, I get a text from you. Said you have an important story you want to talk about, and we had you booked, and then Trump took the whole hour. He took most of the hour, so we were on way, but we couldn't get to it. Tell us about this story. It's really, living in Florida, I'm very concerned about it. 88-year-old man and dog killed in a bear attacks in Florida. Tell us.
Well, Eric, number one, I'm a conservationist. My dad taught me to respect and participate as a hands-on participant in God's miraculous renewable creation. That's why I'm so healthy at 77 years of age in 2025, because I eat venison. It's the only natural, pure, organic diet available to mankind. So I really am tuned in and educated and live the wildlife lifestyle. So I'm engaged in all 50 states where the game agencies, the wildlife agency, Department of Natural Resource agencies, they're completely out of control. And I really love Governor DeSantis, and I love the spirit of Florida. I love everything about it. But the black bear population has been just glaringly, dangerously out of control, overpopulated. There are more black bears in Florida and in North America than ever in recorded history. Now we have a dead old guy and his dog. There are the highest number of nuisance complaints. I mean, literally citizens of Florida calling into the Fish and Wildlife Commission and Governor DeSantis' office where black bears are so overpopulated, they're chasing kids home from rural bus stops. They're killing and destroying livestock at record numbers, costing taxpayers to pay damage control instead of the proven science-based methodology of quality control, which is an annual black bear season. I cannot for the life of me figure out how a great Republican conservative governor like Ron DeSantis has not opened the black bear season when in fact we've been begging to open the bear season for years. Once again, simply to put this magnificent black bear in the asset column instead of in the liability column getting hit by Mercedes-Benz and Lamborghinis in downtown Naples. It's literally so irresponsible that now we have a dead guy and his dog. And again, it's not just one dead guy. These black bears are out of control. So Governor DeSantis, we love you. open the damn bear season. These magnificent animals deserve that respect.
Ted, does it move as a sliding scale on when it opens and when it closes based on the black bear population? How does that work?
Well, it's really simple. Even guitar players can figure it out. There's a natural, proven, written in stone methodology of sustained yield. What does the turkey? What does the deer? What does the elk? What does the goose season? What do they supply every year? They reproduce every year. When they have new babies every year, they're using up the habitat that literally doesn't exist. Now, the black bear and the coyote and the wolf and the deer, they're very adaptive. They can live in your garden in downtown Pittsburgh. And they do live in the garden in downtown Pittsburgh, bears and deer and turkey. But what we've proven is that sustained yield, there's a surplus every year of big game animals that absolutely have to be harvested to keep them from being dangerous and slaughtering people on the highways and killing people walking their dogs. So we need to have a season where you use hounds and bait to identify that old male boar, which is readily identifiable. If you have a hound with a bear up the tree, you can tell if it's a sow with cubs. You don't shoot those animals. You shoot the old male bears, which are known as boars, that run the sows and cubs out of the prime habitat into marginal habitat, Immokalee, Fort Myers, Naples, and if you've never run into a bear, that doesn't mean they're not there. The facts are irrefutable. There are more bear in Florida than ever in recorded history, and right now they are in the liability column, a dangerous overpopulation. And the meat on a bear, it is a big game animal that in all states that have bear populations, we have a bear season, but not in Florida. It's really inexcusable, Eric.
Not in Florida. That's what I'm getting at. So, I have a very good relationship with the governor, as you know. We'll make a call. But so this is something that he could do that maybe his folks haven't made him aware of what's going, the extent of the situation.
Yeah, there's no question nobody had made him aware of it, because I know Ron DeSantis would have reacted properly. Just like, I tell you, the most painful reality, Eric, is that the worst governor in America, Governor Murphy in New Jersey, he responded to the dangerous overpopulation of black bears in New Jersey. If Governor Murphy can have a bear season in New Jersey, it boggles the mind that Ron DeSantis hasn't implemented it in Florida. And I'm afraid the Florida Wildlife Commission has not communicated honestly or adequately with the good governor, because had they, there would have been a bear season, and maybe this old guy wouldn't be dead, and maybe our tax dollars wouldn't go to pay ranchers to replay and repay for all the dead livestock.
I'm going to do. We're going to make a call after the show, see if we can get Mr. DeSantis, Governor DeSantis, on the show, see if we can get the bear season open and running. And I'm going to use the soundbite from this conversation with my man, Ted Nugent. Ted, before we have a couple minutes, you know me, my favorite song of all time, I got it everywhere, Stranglehold, best rock song ever, bluesy rock, ballady, meaningful song, Stranglehold. You have a Stranglehold tour coming up. Tell us about it.
What a sexy, cool song. It's so much fun to play that.
I have chills. I swear on my life. Yes. I have chills on my arms listening to that. True, absolute true story.
I have a bunch of Uncle Ted speakeasies where John Kutz on drums and Johnny Big on bass, Jason Hartless. We're going out. Eric, it's 2025. I'm 77 this year. I am having more outrageous fun with the most unbelievable guitar tone and guitar musical adventure. This is unbelievable of my life. The audience go berserk. We got old people older than me, little boys and girls in the. It's the best musical year of my life, and it's the 50th anniversary of Stranglehold. We have a Stranglehold T-shirt, 50th anniversary, available at tednugent.com. The music keeps me alive, Eric, especially that song.
That song and so many others, Ted. Like I said, we Wang Dang, Sweet Poon Tang. Yeah,
it's all good. Unbelievable licks.
Can you hit that high note?
My feet don't touch the ground.
Can you hit that high note still? That scream. You got that primal scream. That is just. I remember. If you're going to be down in Florida somewhere, I'm going to absolutely show up on this tour for sure.
Well, thanks, Eric. Well, we're playing a bunch of dates in Michigan, right here in Texas. Again, the audiences are just on fire. There's such positive energy. It's a dream. Plus, we have a Nuge Vault. Go to NugeVault.com, and you'll see the first rehearsal sessions of the Amboy Dukes and the Damn Yankees and the song Stranglehold, how it came out of a jam session with a buddy of mine in Detroit.
That's awesome.
The Nuge Vault, they're discovering stuff that I look back and I go, my God, that's 70 years ago. What a riot this has been. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. Thanks for letting me celebrate it with you.
Oh, I want to celebrate with you. I want to continue to celebrate that celebration with you. I'm going to absolutely head to one or more of your tour stops. And I guess we can say it now. If Andrea Mitchell on CNN can say big balls, I guess I can say some of the names of the songs that you've written, because I'm just stating fact here, folks.
Yeah, Wang Dang Sweet Poontang is the greatest love song ever. Go ahead and celebrate that stuff.
Or yank me, crank me, but don't wake up and thank me. That's another one.
That's great stuff. What a riot.
I love you, Ted. Ted Nugent, everybody.
Back at you, Eric. God bless you, my friend.
Talk to you soon, folks. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Mad Dog, where are the locators on these live cams? What's happening here?
Oh, I forgot it.
Looks like a tree, a little garden. Is that your parents' garden?
No, it's actually Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida. Okay, got it. All right, folks, it's been one of those weeks. I'm left with plenty of unanswered questions, as I'm sure you do. Question of the day today: do they think we're stupid? So first, in an effort to get out in front of a rewriting of the Biden legacy, the big guy is making the rounds. Some call it a revenge tour. Some call it the cleanup tour. I call it dumb and delusional tour. Joe and his handler, Dr. Jill, who holds Weekend at Bernie's up with a broom, joined him yesterday on, of all places, The View. And they tried pathetically to do cleanup on aisle 9 over Joe's obvious slip into dimension. I say obvious to us, but apparently not to them. He couldn't defend his failures. He claimed he could have beaten President Trump if he just stayed in. That's laughable. He claimed Kamala Harris lost because of sexism and racism and not because she was the worst presidential candidate in modern history. And when he couldn't answer the question about his cognitive issues, well, Dr. Jill had to jump in and rescue him. Some of the moments right here.
The projects, the benefits. How do you lead the world without having best infrastructure? Yeah, he's still got 7 million fewer votes.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people didn't show up. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two, they're very close in those toss-up states. He's had the worst 100 days any president's ever had.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
They went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is a woman, she's this, she's that. I mean, it really, I've never seen quite as successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country and a woman of mixed race, unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things and
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us.
Saved by the doctor, with air quotes. By the way, interviewing a man who's clearly in cognitive decline about whether he was in cognitive decline and then having his wife answer for him when he exhibits cognitive decline is absurd. That's delusional. So delusional, in fact, that we need a new word for it. Newsflash, that's neither news nor flash. Every single American turned on Joe by the time that debate rolled around. The entire leftist machine abandoned old Joe. And now even the likes of Jake Tapper trying to tap into making some money off the failure of the entire mainstream media to actually do their job. So what does Jake Tapper do? Well, Jake has a book coming out in a few weeks, and it's all about Joe Biden's slip into dementia and the cover-up, right? So what does he do? He has Alyssa Farah, one of the hosts from The View, come on his show after the Joe and Jill tour of pathetic hit show on Thursday. Watch.
What was your general impression of President Biden, what you heard from him, how he spoke, et cetera?
Listen, this is the second time I've interviewed President Biden now, and the one thing that really struck me from the moment he got to the table was he and his team are clearly very aware that his legacy is being written right now, and they feel and have this strong sense that they need to fight back and shape the narrative.
Yeah, so Alyssa Farah didn't actually answer the question, does she? He's asking her for an impression about how Joe Biden seemed mentally, cognitively, given his mental decline that we all know about beyond the shadow of a doubt. The real answer, Alyssa Farah should have used or said, or rather the real answer Jake was looking for was, he didn't look too good at all, Jake, so your book is safe to hit those shelves. Maybe the question shouldn't be, do they think we're stupid, but more specifically, does Jake Tapper think we're all stupid? Maybe he thinks his own audience is stupid, because they are. There's a clear issue here, which is that while Joe Biden tries desperately and ineffectively, by the way, to change the narrative, the media is now not only pretending they had no clue about Joe's decline, but they're trying to clear their own legacy by putting it all on the White House. Nice try. You're all complicit. Media, White House, Democrats, progressives, elected officials on the Democrat side. Jen Psaki, who says, I'm not a doctor, I couldn't tell he was sliding. BS. You're all complicit. You're all lying. You're all treasonous jackals. You all lied to the American people about an inept, degenerative man who was the leader of the free world, getting worse and worse as time went on. The answer to my question is yes, they think we're stupid, but we're most definitely not stupid. Another question of the day, how many crimes does an illegal alien need to commit before a Democrat falls out of love with that illegal? Abrego Garcia was in America illegally. That's not enough for them. Abrego Garcia was a confirmed member of the MS-13 gang. That's not enough for them either. Abrego Garcia was an abusive husband. His wife filed charges of domestic abuse more than once. Let's give him another one for that. But that's still not enough for them. Abrego Garcia was involved in human trafficking, and that still is not enough for them. What does it actually take for a Democrat to stop loving an illegal who invades this country? Apparently, more than even that.
And specifically, can you answer as to whether you have reached out to your counterpart in El Salvador to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's release?
Abrego Garcia is a citizen of El Salvador and should never have been in this country and will not be coming back to this country. There is no scenario where Abrego Garcia will be in the United States again. If he were to come back, we would immediately deport him again because he is a terrorist, he's a human smuggler, and he is a wife beater.
You've read the Supreme Court decision. Does the Supreme Court decision not require you to facilitate the return of Mr. Abrego Garcia?
It doesn't matter. Terrorist, wife abuser, doesn't matter. Bring him back, they say.
Simple question. Are you taking any action to facilitate his return, or are you not?
This administration is following and complying with all federal court orders to make sure that we...
So you are, because the court ordered that you facilitate his return. So you are facilitating his return.
Sir, Senator, thank you for the question. But what I would tell you is that we are following court orders and that your advocacy for a known terrorist is alarming to me.
These dumbass senators, these dumb-ass senators. Couldn't agree more, Secretary Noem. Well, how about this one? Another question of the day. Why is it okay to charge people hundreds of dollars for zero effort? Well, this is another peg in the fall of Hollywood. Diddy on trial, about to take down an entire industry that is collectively hiding under their sheets, petrified of being exposed for the vile hacks they really are. And Katy Perry exemplifies the downfall of Hollywood, self-righteous, self-important. They used to just come out and endorse a presidential candidate. Now they get paid millions of dollars to do it, telling Americans to vote for the ill-equipped Marxist degenerate who wants to raise their taxes. Katy Perry goes on a ride to space that costs millions, spends 10 minutes up there. I'm not even sure space, just high up in the sky. makes it seem like she saved an entire generation of women in the process, and all she's really doing was promoting her music tour and robbed many people of hundreds of dollars so she could poorly execute a Jane Fonda exercise video on stage in glitter and whatever outfit that thing is supposed to be. Final question of the day. Is there anything more exciting than retribution? Now that there's an official investigation into Letitia James and her possible mortgage fraud, don't moments like this just feel sweeter than ever?
My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
Hear that? No one is above the law.
Yes, my question is for Tush James. Will you apologize to President Trump for wasting millions of dollars and the state of New York for a witch trial? And how does it feel to know that you will be imprisoned for mortgage fraud?
Someone give that man a beer. We'll see you in court, Letitia. 2.5 minutes, we'll be back. Well, I'll take the Vatican City. We saw that yesterday. The new Pope, Leo the 14th, from Chicago, by the way, dual citizen also, but from Chicago. And I just like to note that being from Chicago, the scoreboard shows Chicago 1, Green Bay 0 still. All right, folks, let's talk about Bernie Sanders for a second and his ignorant granddaughter, AOC, just kidding about the granddaughter part, who've been jetting all over the country to fight back against American progress and prosperity. Of course, they only fly private, and when it comes to their travel, these highbrow frauds couldn't care less about the green dream BS that they pretend to prioritize. Well, here's Bernie proving that point.
5 rallies in a week, the only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
No apologies. Millionaires and billionaires, right? No, when it's him, no apologies, but everyone else, you're an oligarch. You're a millionaire. You're a billionaire. We want to take you down. We want to tax you more. What about you, Bernie, and your 3 or 4 homes, your private jet? This is exactly why you can't trust any Democrats. They pretend to care so much about these pointless issues, but then completely flip-flop, change sides when they're either inconvenienced or asked to do any work. Here's more from old Bernie, who's basically held every possible stance on climate change over the years.
Today we say to Donald Trump and the fossil fuel industry that climate change is not a hoax, but is a massive threat, an existential threat to our country and the entire planet.
Your question has said, what are we going to do in decades? We don't have decades. But the scientists are telling us that we don't get our act together within the next 8 or 9 years. We're talking about cities all over the world, major cities going underwater.
When you run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week, the only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that.
If being a hypocrite would actually get you votes, this guy would be president by now. My big issue here is not that the Dems prefer to fly privately. Fine, you got the money, do it. Trust me, I understand the concept of campaign travel. It's been done for decades. My issue is that these big-name climate crazies have all been exposed as complete hypocrites, like Lizzie Warren, Pocahontas, who you're watching right now, right there, coming right at your screen. She was spotted flying private, and tried to literally hide from the cameras. The whole world saw her, yet the very next day, it was like nothing to see here, folks. Democrats can do no wrong, especially in their own minds. Jazzy Jasmine Crockett engaged in a Trump derangement syndrome-fueled, completely insane interrogation during a congressional hearing where she basically tried to blame every issue in America that's going wrong on President Trump. Got to listen to it to believe it.
So, Miss Goss-Graves, I want to play a game. It's called Trump or Trans. You ready? Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand?
Got it.
Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research.
Trump.
Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, a.k.a. deporting them.
Trump.
Driving us into a recession.
Trump.
Increasing the cost of everything.
Trump.
Waging an idiotic tariff war.
Trump.
Harming farmers.
Trump.
Ignoring the Constitution.
Trump.
Proposing to take away Social Security.
Trump.
Cutting health care.
Trump.
Firing government workers who keep our country safe.
Trump.
Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness.
Trump.
Thank you so much.
Jasmine, I want to play a game too. It's called Dumb and Dumber. You and AOC, which one's dumb and which one's dumber? Jasmine Crockett went on relentlessly bashing the president with statements that range from borderline true to downright wrong. Here's a bit more from one of the worst congresswomen this nation has ever seen.
This committee could be engaged in actual oversight of fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. So let's talk about waste. Like Trump's plan to spend almost $100 million for his little birthday parade, or how he spent 25% of his first 100 days golfing, costing taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. In fact, it's a little bit over 30 million at our last estimation. In fact, President Trump is on pace to spend more than $1 billion of taxpayer dollars just on golfing. Yet the Republicans have been silent. So they must think spending taxpayer dollars on the president's golfing trips is more important than providing health care to their constituents. And when I talk about constituents, we're going to talk about the ones on this committee.
Did she say did she say $1 billion on Trump's golfing? Okay. Sure, Jazzy. Anytime. Let's do a debate. Ready for you. In other news, Dan Goldman, the congressman from New York, is still whining about Joe Biden. He thinks Donald Trump is going to try and take credit for all the great things that old, demented Joe did for America. Listen to this.
Well, look, I am a great admirer of President Biden. I think he will ultimately go down as one of the most consequential presidents because of all of the legislation he was able to pass in his first 2 years and the incredible work he did on the international stage on his second 2 years. As some of the other seminal legislation is actually implemented, Americans are going to benefit from it. You can be sure that Donald Trump will take full credit for it. But it was Joe Biden's vision and his desire to do the right thing rather than the politically expedient thing that ultimately, I think, sacrificed some of his favorability.
All right.
What credit for what did Biden do? There's nothing to take credit for that disastrous 4 years. All Biden did was prove he's the worst president in the history of American politics ever. Jimmy Carter rolling his grave, thanking Joe Biden. Well, fake Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, is another Democrat who can't seem to snap his head on straight. Here he is blaming Trump, of course, for the condition of America's airports, an issue that dates back into the Biden era, got worse with every move former President Biden made. But listen to Hakeem, fake Obama Jeffries.
We do know that the Trump administration has decimated the FAA in a variety of different ways, and they've been doing this from the very beginning. They are breaking the federal government, and as part of breaking the federal government, the Trump administration is breaking the FAA.
They're all deranged. They all just want to blame Trump for everything. Remind me to stay the hell away from Salt Lake City. These people are so dead set on their LGBTQ agenda that they went and changed the city's flag to a pride flag to dodge Utah's flag banning at government buildings. Listen to this ridiculous reasoning.
I want each and every resident to look up at any flag that flies at City Hall and be reminded that their community values belonging and acceptance, and that their community values every one of them. Let the Sago Lily send a simple but powerful message. Salt Lake City is here for you. We believe in you, and we love you.
Salt Lake City is like the Mormon capital of the United States, right? What do the Mormons feel about that? I have no idea. Hit me up on one of the chats or on my social media. I'm dying to know what they think about changing the Salt Lake City flag, the official flag of the city, to a pride flag so that they can fly that flag at all times. Absolutely crazy. Nuts, crazy. Nuts, folks. All right, we'll be back. I can hear the music. They're telling me. We'll be back. 2.5 minutes. Mad Dog, I have to. Dog, can I get the full control room camera for a second here? I got to ask you something. Now, folks, he got my ear because I can't see something. Before the show comes on, I can't see the picture because it's small up in the corner of one of my monitors over there. So he tells me it's like San Francisco. And then what did you say right before when you said San Francisco, I think I see what?
I think I see a volcano, not too sure.
Yeah, you don't see a volcano. There's not a volcano in San Francisco. This might be a little hill, maybe a little ridge, but I don't think it's a volcano. If we're in Hawaii, you see a volcano. Mad Dog, I love it. And there are the other folks. There's Ben and the rest of the team. All right, guys, welcome back. Just wanted to remind you all about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated every day. You can hear the show, tons of other content anytime, anywhere. You missed an interview, you want to hear Ted Nugent again, go subscribe to that on YouTube and also Apple and Spotify, anywhere else. It's always going to be free. All right, let's bring in War Room chief correspondent who's actually hosting tonight again, Natalie Winters, getting a lot of airtime in the hosting seat. Natalie, good to have you join us for the toss. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Eric. Thank you for having me.
Let's take a listen to Caroline Levit. She had a briefing. I thought there were some really, really cool moments. She briefed the members of the media this afternoon, and she called out 2 reporters. Take a look.
Given that you noted he is a successful businessman, do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there or see any of the sites that are going to be
Not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public reelected him back to this White House because they trust he acts in the best interests of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards.
You know, some of those mic drop moments, she's really, really talented. We got to love Caroline Levit. Natalie, what are your thoughts on her going after reporters for stupid questions?
Well, I mean, it's pure projection, right? They had, 4 years? I mean, I don't know, the name Hunter Biden maybe comes up in the discussion of people profiting off of political office. But look, Eric, I think it's even more sinister than just, the legacy media being petty. This is, I think, their sort of decades-long crusade to paint him as this nascent, authoritarian, this autocrat, this dictator. Turn on MSNBC, that's every other word that you'll ever hear as they describe him, because it's the only way that in their worldview, where despite pretending to love democracy, having to reconcile that with the fact that President Trump, like she alluded to, overwhelmingly won the popular vote, right? So they have to justify these sort of outside the system opposition and regime change tactics. And I think one of the ways that they've always done that is by depicting him as, self-enriching or as some autocratic person profiting off of the office.